entertainment, current events, and Hollywood. Don't miss Creator to Creators, hosted by the filmmaker Meosha, known for the Shudder hit documentary Horror Noir and the acclaimed film Anatomy of an Anti-Hero, Redemption. This show features interviews with filmmakers and creatives from around the globe. Join the fun with guest celebrities and gain valuable insights. Subscribe now and follow Creator to Creators.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Creators to Creators today. Today we have a special guest.
Hey, how everybody doing? It's AL99 in the building. Thank you, Meosha, for having me. I was very excited to talk with you today.
Absolutely. I love going back to the beginning. I say the beginning chart our trajectory in life, our little habits we pick up along the way, follow us into our adulthood. Tell me a little bit about, your childhood. What was that like? And, when did you, find a love or fall in love with music?
Yeah, so it's actually really cool because my family, we're very music oriented. The music kind of just runs in our whole family lineage. My granddad was actually one of the original five members of the Persuasions, an a cappella group from Brooklyn.
Wow.
Back in the 70s. They started in the late 60s, grew in the 70s. I never met my granddad. He passed away in '89, way before I was born. But yeah, so so with that legacy passing through my family, like we all are musically inclined. We do singing and theater and instruments. We're all musicians. A whole bunch of people in my family do that. So I really was just raised on music from the time I can remember. What I mean, as always I can remember. Listening to all sorts of genres. Everything: jazz, rock, soul, hip hop. Everything I can think. And for me, when I really started to be like, okay, I'm gonna take it seriously
Mhm.
professionally, that was like in my later teen years, but like I had always done it. So like if I wasn't doing any normal kid stuff, playing sports or at school or something, hanging out with my friends or whatever, I would be at home just for fun, playing my guitar or making beats, writing little raps when I was a little kid. So it's always been a part of my life, but I took it, I started to take it seriously like later on though.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, I mean, because I always wonder, how, like, for me, I come from the film background, so I watched. It was one summer when I was 16 when I rented the Alfred Hitchcock, DVD, like VHS tapes
Yeah,
at the
right.
library, and I was like, I knew then. I was like, all right, yeah, this is definitely what I want to do for sure. Like, just something in me changed forever. Um, I always say that I think it's like a spark we get, or it's something people just know, but like it's like, all right, I'm not going to do anything else because there's, as time goes on, people kind of try to talk you out of your dream, or
That's right.
maybe this is not for you.
Yeah.
How did you, like, how would you say, like, just when you did, like, obviously you grew up in music, but like, I mean, I'm sure those are big shoes to fill, like coming from a musically inclined family. Did you feel like a big responsibility, or you just kind of felt like, nah, I'm just gonna do what I want to do, how I do it?
So it's funny because it's like it's definitely the second part of that, but the first part, and then actually not at all. What I mean? Like it was actually kind of I wouldn't say 100% frowned upon, but it just was not like we after my granddad, like we didn't, no one really took it seriously. Besides, like I have an aunt, I had my TT, she did theater very hard. Like she did theater in New York. My whole family's from New York, so
Nice.
so she did theater and everything, and she grinded. She did it for a long time, but then eventually it just, it's hard, living in a, one room apartment with four people. You know how that grind is, especially back in the day. So it was hard. So she stopped. But me growing up personally, like it was definitely not even a remote thought. Like I thought, like the whole thing in my house was you gonna get an education. Like that was the
Right.
main. It was, you gonna go to school. You can play sports. I always played sports growing up. So that was what I thought my whole plan was gonna be. I'm like, I'm gonna be on the Yankees playing baseball, and I'm gonna go to school for engineering or something. That's what I thought. And as I got later on in my life, I was just like, I know I could do that, but it just wasn't. It's not my true passion. It's not my true passion. Like music has always been my true passion. And
Yeah.
that's when I kind of went to my folks. I went to my parents, and I was like, look, I don't know how I'm gonna figure it out, but I gotta figure this out. Like I gotta do it. However I gotta do it. I'll live in the park. I'll move to New York. I'll go to live in the subway. I just gotta do something that's gonna give me a little bit of life. Right now in my life, it was just a lot. a lot was going on. I just was trying to find my purpose, and
Yeah.
I was like, look, man, this music is really what keeps me whole, besides
Yeah.
my family, besides my family. So I'm like, that's when I really took it, and I was like, look, I'm gonna do it for real. And I went to school for it, learned the business side of it, so I always protect myself and everything. And my mom's is my manager, so it's a
That's
family
great.
dynamic. Yeah, it's a family process with it, but yeah, it was actually completely not at all. Like it was not no pressure for me, and that's why I think it's so fun for me. You know what I mean? Because there's really
Yeah.
no pressure. You know.
I love that. I love that. I love that you said you have, your managers, your mom, because I feel like, a lot of times people get kind of taken advantage of in this business of music, especially entertainment business. It's like, it's such a, I mean, as much as we love creating, it's like, you're right. It's such a business savvy part. Like that's how you become successful. You think about Taylor Swift or your people like, that who's figured out who has a good business strategy and knows how to stay relevant throughout the times. So yeah, it is amazing. What's one thing that you think a lot of artists and or new artists kind of get, I guess, misinterpret or kind of don't get right at the beginning of their career?
Yeah, that's a great question because I talk to so many underground independent artists and we all kind of went through the same process. So like for me, like I'll give you a little story for me. When I first went to community college to get my music business degree, the first lecture, I'll never forget it, the first lecture that my professor told us in class, he was like, look, what is it that you're going to want to sacrifice? Because you're going to have to sacrifice something. And he gave us like five main life things that people would usually, care about, like family time, personal time, work, sleep, and then leisure, stuff like that. So it's like you're gonna have to sacrifice something. That's like I feel like that's like the number one biggest part that people miss when they're first starting is that like it's a job, but it's more than just a job. It's kind of like your whole life. You know what I mean? Like it's not like you don't clock out of this. You know what I mean? Like you
Right.
don't there's no like okay, punch in at 9, clock out at 5. No, it's whenever inspiration strikes. And you're gonna have to travel and you're gonna have to perform. And that's another big thing that I feel people don't really, really understand when they first start. Like you have to perform. You gotta go outside. You gotta perform and you gotta because the people want to interact with you. They want to see what your passion is on stage. They want to feel that. So
Right.
those are like two little things. But then from like a business side of it, like you really have to learn as an independent artist that it's a lot of it's a lot of hype, no, pipe dreams rather. It's a lot of pipe dreams that
Mm,
like you would think like okay, you would think Taylor Swift, Drake, Kendrick, Beyonce. You would think oh they just they got famous. No, there's so much process to it. Like you have to invest. That's another
yes.
main huge thing that I've seen. Like a lot of indie artists don't understand that investment part. Like you're never gonna maybe once in a million, someone's gonna drop a hot song on SoundCloud or YouTube and it's just gonna blow up and you'll get a deal, opportunity. That's not gonna happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you have to promote yourself, you have to invest. And I feel like that's if not the biggest thing, that's one of the top three, four things that like you gotta learn that. Gotta invest
Yeah.
in yourself.
Absolutely. I was looking at some interview with it was I think it was Jeffree Star, and he was talking about how he when he made his first million, he put that million back into his business and made products, and therefore he had something to sell,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, that makes sense. So invest it back into your business. Whatever you make, put it right back into what you're putting out. And I think that's absolutely important. So very good advice. I really like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's so important that it's like I talk about that all the time now. Like, like whenever I'm at an interview or whatever, if I'm just talking to a peer or something in the industry, I'm like, it's so not understood that like you're never going to just get a deal out of nowhere. That's not how it happens. You got to invest in yourself. And I forgot to say with the question, you really got to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Make sure all your stuff is copywritten. That's the first step. Just get your stuff copywritten. That's the first step. After that, then you can get into getting incorporated. If you make an LLC for yourself, you can have it just be you, your name or your artist name, or you can make a publishing company,
Right.
like TPC Music Production is our publishing company. So you got to protect your stuff from the legal standpoint because look, I've also understood that the industry is no different than any other industry. You know what I
Right.
mean? If you're not going to get a job in the normal 9 to 5 world without filling out your W-9, it's just part of the process.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's just part of the process. Like you have to copyright yourself or people will take advantage because that's just what it is.
Absolutely. And you hear so many people. I mean, this can go so many ways, but so many, like such a rabbit hole, but it's so true. It's so important because you hear about those artists that like your Prince, who Michael Jackson, who was trying to buy people's catalogs back because or even buy the company itself. you
Right.
know
Yeah,
and
right.
unfortunately that didn't really go so well, but
Yeah.
it is that it's ownership is everything.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a really interesting world.
Absolutely.
um with Super Duper, you know, I feel like it's a level up moment of a song. It's like, what personal shift inspired that track specifically?
Right. I really, yeah, it's pretty much exactly what you said. Like I had to sit back and look at my whole catalog, look at what I was doing from a creative standpoint. I was like, okay, look, I've been writing and really releasing songs independently and underground for like 6 years now. And it's like I really want to step it up to just show that it's polished. You know what I mean? Show them my whole sound is polished. I engineer my own music, I record in my own home studio. So and I produce the beats too, you know what I mean? So like for me, it's like I learned how to do all of those things in the process of making the music better over time.
Hmm.
So I was like, so from that technical standpoint, I was like, I gotta make everything moving forward just really crisp, really sound good, make sure my vocals are nice and clear, you know what I mean? But then from the writing standpoint, it's exactly what you said. I was like, nah, it's boss up time. Like I gotta step up, I gotta claim it now. Cause it's like I've always also always been sort of the pessimistic person. I believe in myself wholeheartedly,
Hmm.
but at the same time though, like I tend to be a little pessimistic. Like even when I was back in the day, like I'd win something, I would be very not even proud of myself about. You know what I'm saying? So like now I'm just like, nah, I gotta step into that pride for myself. Like be like, nah, this is my time. Like I've worked for this. I know that I'm talented. I know I got what it takes. Let me rise up to the occasion. That's why I'm popped out feeling like a king. You know what I'm saying? Like that
Hmm.
was the first thing that I kept saying to myself over and over when I was writing it. Cause I'm like, nah, it's my time. You know what I mean? Like I've really done worked for this, grinded, and I don't see no reason why I couldn't take it to the top of the mountain. So that's, yeah, for real though. Like that, it was a very intentionally written song. Cause sometimes the songs just come to me. Nah, that one I really sat down. I was like, nah, I'm stepping up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And I love it. It's an awesome beat. Did you as far as like you wrote, produced, recorded, and mixed, right, yourself? What part of the process feels like the most natural to you?
You know what? I'd say the creation side. So from the writing of the lyrics to the making of the beat, like that really is natural. Because I was doing that, like I said, when I was a kid. You know what I mean, just for fun and
Nice.
stuff. But with the yeah, that's for sure. Like I love that. Like even just on a day-to-day basis, I'll write a 16 just for nothing. You know what I mean? Just to write it.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So that's really the best part of every day for me. Like that's what I live for, is just the creation side.
How did your style develop? There's every artist has a unique kind of style. Like, when you put on a Kendrick song, it's a Kendrick song, or when you put on a Beyonce and so forth. Like, how did you discover your style? And did you like, because I mean, I'm sure it always can be developed and tweaked as people, as time progresses.
Yeah, right. No, absolutely. And that's exactly what happened. Like because when I first started, I'm young too, you know what I'm saying? I'm only 26, so I really grew up on
Oh, wow.
yeah, no,
You're super
I'm
young.
yeah, I'm an old soul, you know what I'm saying? I'm an
I
old
love
soul. Yeah, I'm
it.
an old soul, but I'm young, I'm young. But yeah, so I really grew up on like the real new age sound from the Migos to Future and Young Thug and all that type of stuff. But at the same time, I'm raised and rooted in old school New York hip hop. All my family's from Brooklyn. So for me, it was like I kind of always tapped into both lanes, at least in my hip hop perspective. You know what I'm saying? Like I would always do a little bit of boom bap, a little bit of trap, a little bit of melodic trap, a little
Yeah.
bit of jazz rap. Like Tribe Called Quest or something. Like I have a lot of songs like that too. That's gonna come out. So for me, it was like once I really found out how to again, it kind of goes into the believing in myself thing. You know what I'm saying? Like I always knew I was talented. I always knew that I had what it took to get to a point and further on than where I was. I always knew that. But I had to be confident in my own sound. So like I had to find my own voice for real. Like I used to
Right.
I remember when I first started to making music, my mom, she'd be like, boy, if you don't stop with that mumbling, you know what I'm saying? Because like I grew up on the Atlanta stuff, you know what I'm saying? So like I would try to sound like Future and Migos and shit. And for me, it was like I really had to understand, like, nah, I can have inspiration from the artists that I grew up listening to, but it's gotta be me. It's gotta be my own voice, it's gotta be my own sound. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how it developed. But then, like I said, I grew up on so many different types of genres that it all kind of just melds up into AL99. Like it's like another dude that I performed in DC with. He was, we performed and everybody watched each other too. So this was like 2 years ago, and he goes, someone in the crowd said, "Yo, what's that sound, bro? Like we don't even." And he said, "That's the AL99 sound." And I was like, "Word up, though." Yeah, it's like it really is. It's a unique sound. I have a unique, distinctive voice. Like you'll be able to tell it's me on a track. Um, and just all the inspiration from all the artists that I grew up listening to. And
Nice.
and I learned how to really write better bars because I take my time now. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
back in the day, I would just write something. If it sounded cool, I would just do it.
right.
It was always authentic to my story. But I would use a lot of cursing. I wouldn't really think about, I wouldn't care about the wordplay. I would just say something that, okay, this is the bar, and I move on. But nah, now I take my time. I take my time. I might go back, rewrite it. So that's
I
kind of
love
how it
that. I love that. That's awesome. What was the vision behind the cinematic music video, and how involved were you in that concept?
So I immediately had that thought. Like I immediately had the thought of that vision for the video. I was like, I want it to be this type of thing where I'm in a throne, because it goes with the lyrics. Like I'm very into movies too. So it was funny you said
Yay, I
Alfred.
love that.
When you said Alfred Hitchcock, like I love movies. I love all of that, all the old school movies. I love that. So for me, I do think very theatrical. I think
Nice.
theatrical and I think cinematic in my music videos as well. So that vision was like off top. But then I have a team, so Brittany Leah Morrow is my she's the one who writes out the visions. She does the
Nice.
storyboards and everything, and then I'm working with a videography team of David Shaw and Ivo. I don't remember Ivo's real name, but yeah, so we all work together and we would have some meetings, we would sit down and think about the concept of the video,
Right.
do different scenes and everything. So it was kind of like a movie production, and that's how I always want the fans of mine to absorb my music and my content. I want them to understand that I'm always trying to put in a little bit of theatrics to it, a little bit of cinema into it. I want them to experience it as if it's like they're watching a movie unfold, and like the whole movie is my whole career. Like that's how I kind of think about it. Like I want them to
Okay.
watch it as if it's like scene one, scene two, scene three, all the way through until the end. You know what I'm saying? Until way down the road, 40, 50 years from now. So that's how I kind of think about with my visions and the videos and even the songs.
Yeah, no, I thought it was very, great coming from a cinematic background myself, cinematography originally, then getting into film and directing. I was like, wow, I really, really enjoyed the black and white. I love a good black and white a music video. I think it's always, I don't know, it's more classy or very
Right.
very cool. Um,
Thank you. Thank
Absolutely. So I have a fun question that I like asking everyone on on this show, and there's no wrong answer, I promise. um,
you.
but the three levels of influence: money, power, and respect. If you could choose only one of those things, which one would you choose and why?
Hmm. I'm gonna always have to go with respect on that because I feel like respect can lead to the two other things. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't even have to necessarily have money to get things accomplished, and you don't really need power. Having power is great, just like
Mhm.
having money is great. But I feel like respect can lead to those two other things because doors will just open for you if you're respected.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how I think about it, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's brilliant. Great answer. Um,
Hey,
your upcoming LP Elevate drops early 2026. What can fans expect from that project?
yeah, I cannot wait for that project. Yeah, no, I like literally I'll be every day I'm just like, oh, I can't wait for it. It's coming out January 9th to 26th. So everybody stay tuned. But so basically what they can expect is my first showing to the world of my thought process in my life, my thought process in my creation, because it kind of all of my stuff is going to come out in a chronology, so to speak. So the song order kind of does flow into a nice little, you know, um, timeline kind of, you know what I mean? Like he kind of goes through and you kind of see the story that I'm trying to build with all the
Hmm.
songs. And you'll hear different sounds. You know, they also call me Versatile Al. And that's literally what is in that. And that's what's going to be in everything moving forward. You know, you're going to hear the two singles, Pop and Superduper, that are already out, but you're going to hear, you know, dark trap. You're going to hear introspective trap. You're going to hear boom bap. You're going to hear love rap. You're going to hear party rap. You know, you're going to hear all sorts of different types of styles and meanings in the music and vibes too. You know, like there's so many different BPMs and tempos that you can vibe to. Like, you know, if you like a boom bap sound, you'll have that. If you like a melodic trap, if you like a fast drill, like trap sound, you know, so everything is going to be in there like that. And I'm excited for it. I think people are really going to enjoy it.
Yeah, I love that. I can't wait. Um, you perform up and down the country, from DMV to Brooklyn to Atlanta to Arizona. What city has given you the most surprising response?
Wow. The most surprising response. That's a cool way to put it. Let me think. The most surprising response, I guess, you know what? I've performed so many times in New York that it's hard for me to kind of like, I'm not surprised by it anymore. But definitely when I first started, like, you know, because you hear all the stories. You know, New York is like it's the hub. You know, if you're not in
Yeah.
LA, oh, if you're not in LA, you in New York for it. You know, that's the hub of the industry. So for me, it's like
Right.
when I first started performing in New York, I was like, yo, damn, I hope they don't boo me. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I always heard growing up. You know, because my mom's man, she grew up. You know, she grew up in it. Like she was 14 when the first hip hop song came out. You know, so she literally
Wow.
was there when it was birthed. You know, and that's all I've heard growing up and just watching, even too, watching my watching my heroes, Hove and Nas and Big and you know all that. And I was like, man, I just really hope they don't boo me. You know what I'm saying? Because I had a different sound. You know, I knew that it wasn't the classic New York boom bap sound that people was used to.
Yeah.
So I was like, I just, you know, I'm like, I hope they rock with it. And really, from the first time I performed, it was an immediate response of love and like, yo, you dope. Like everybody, like the first show I did 3 years ago in the city, they was like, nah, you cold, like you got it.
Yeah.
So that was definitely initially surprising. You know what I'm saying? So, but like now, you know, now people in the city know me, you know, so they know what I'm gonna deliver.
Yeah.
You know what I
I
mean?
love
But yeah,
that.
no, off top though, I was nervous. I ain't gonna lie to you. I was nervous. I was like, oh man, I really hope they like it. But they did. You know, they kept loving it. So
Yeah, I'm sure it's super like nerve-wracking. Like you just never kind of get over those, you know, like because especially when you're performing and then you want people to feel what you feel when you wrote it and how you felt, and receive that energy. Because yeah, it's like, yeah, it's amazing what artists do. So
yeah, no, literally though, and it's like now what it more so is, it's more nerves of excitement. So like,
yeah,
you know, I've heard many big time artists over the time say this. You still get those jitters. You know, the jitters never go away. It's just it changes though. So now it's not that you're nervous about like, oh man, I hope I'm good. You just
yeah.
kind of like, I want to kill it so bad. You know what I'm saying? Like it's different. You know what I mean?
I love that. Um, I'm curious, I love talking to, people about the journey. And, sometimes the journey is, obviously it's ebbs and flows. Sometimes we have like these really high highs and really low lows that, and because we live in a society where on social media, everything is so, you know, we put the best photo out, right? We're always looking our best online and people don't see the grind. People don't see the late nights and no sleep to get that
Right.
great music that you're putting out. Um, what challenges have you faced as a artist building everything from scratch?
I mean, phew, countless, you know, countless. But it's, you know, for me, I think the main thing is kind of what you was just, you know, like talking about. Like it's like you have to remember that people and the audience, the fans, the public, they're gonna see the final product. You know what I mean? And that's all that they really care about. You know, now what's cool is that I feel like with social media now, you can give them insights into the process though. So like if you know, I'm trying to get into that lane a little bit more, showing my behind the scenes content, you know, to
Mhm.
show my people and show the fans like there's so much that gets put into this. It's not just, you know, it don't just happen. You know what I mean? Like you got
Yeah.
to this. You got to really grind. It's like you said, it's sleepless nights, it's long nights, you know, traveling nonstop. Like you going to eat when you can, sleep when you can. You know, it's not easy. Um, but that's like the overarching thing that I always try to tell myself too. Like, you know, they're not gonna care until it's time to care, period. You know what I mean? And you know, that's just life, I feel like. But I think it's a good way to stay grounded is to just be like, look, if I keep working and keep delivering what I'm trying to deliver,
Hmm.
they're going to appreciate it in the end because they'll hear the music. And I feel like
Yeah.
the music at the end of the day is all that really matters because that's what we're here for. You know, we're here to hear the music. Like, you know, even us as fans of our favorite artists growing up, like Kendrick is one of my favorites. You know, I didn't learn about Kendrick's, process in the studio until he started talking about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you hear you hear Good Kid, Mad City, To Pimp a Butterfly, and you just listen to the music like, man, this is amazing. But then you go and you watch him speak about it and you see how he was writing about, the real trials and tribulations he was going through or had been through and, his
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So it's like that's
Hmm.
kind of how it happens. It just that's how it naturally unfolds. And I feel like that's one of the main things that people in any entrepreneurial lane, you know what I mean? Like anybody in that
Yes.
lane has to understand that, you can't get disheartened because you don't maybe see the response you're looking for immediately, or you feel like people don't understand your grind because they don't, you know what I mean? They
Yeah.
don't. Just like how we wouldn't understand someone else's until we do, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just part of it, you know what I mean?
It's crazy. Like, and it's something that I always wonder, um, why people look at, and maybe because they're not in your shoes or in that world, so they really won't ever actually fully understand what it is. I used to, growing up, I would get people that say, oh man, you should stop doing that film stuff. I think it's just there's no point. It's like you got to get your 9 to 5. But I think it's like what Hove said. He's like, people are going to tell you what to do. Even don't listen to those people because they haven't even done it. you know
Right.
Listen
Right.
to the people that's done it. Like, so it's always going to be those people that are going to look at, okay, oh, you didn't, you're not on Billboard Top 100. It doesn't matter. You could actually make a living independently. And I feel like a lot of people, I mean, at least I always tell people, like, there's a bunch of entrepreneurs that are maybe not on the Forbes 100 list, but they're making a living doing what they love to do. And that says a lot, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I completely agree. I feel like, you know what it is too? I really think about this all the time. And I talk to the older people in my life. I really love that's why I have such an old soul because I really be around older people and my family's a little bit older. So for
Mhm.
me, I heed that wisdom from them. I've always been a learned person. I always like to learn. I've never stopped and grown. But anyways, for me, it's like that's what I always talk to them about. People are going to have something to say regardless. You know what I'm saying? Like people gonna be like, "Oh, you're not doing this enough. No, you're doing this too much. Oh, you should stop that. No, you should start this. You should only do that. Nah, you got to do this." People gonna have an opinion whether you winning, losing, or in the same stagnation. So it's like you got to do what you believe, what you want to do,
Right.
and find people who believe in that as well. That's really all
Yeah.
that matters at the end of the day because people are going to have something to say regardless. You know what I mean? So that's just what it
Yeah.
is.
It's facts. That's facts. So it's like at this point, well, I'm gonna do whatever I want to do.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, hey.
um, do you feel like as an artist, do you feel like, now that AI is here, we have it, everything is it's so advanced. Do you feel like things are moving in favor of the artist now more so than it was back then?
Right. I mean, you know what I feel like it's like every generation, every period of time has the positives and the negatives. So to me, it's like you look back in the day, it was much harder to make it back in the day. As an artist, it just was. I mean, there was no internet. You couldn't promote yourself really. You had to get a record deal of some sort. You had to have something going on with a team or someone backing you because you didn't have the ability to do it yourself, unless you had your own money, which was rare. So that's how I think about it. But in this generation, it's like there's so much opportunity for you to just do whatever you want and be on the internet. And especially with AI coming in now, it's like you can make it, but you really gotta be authentic. I feel like that's a huge part of today. Like if you're not doing exactly what you believe and people can see through it, like someone's gonna see through it eventually, and then it's the internet. So the internet's gonna blow it up. So that's just what I think about in this generation. You got to stay true to what you do. And really, you can grow though. Like you can obviously evolve in your journey and change. You don't have to necessarily always make the same type of music, but like you have to live vicariously through yourself. You know what I mean? Like if you're not being authentic to what you believe and what you're really trying to create and loving that as well, people aren't going to vibe with it. So that's like the first part. But then on the technology and AI side, it's like Oh man, like I feel like the main thing that we have at least going now as human beings is that we still can perform. You know,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, like yeah, you know, if AI comes out and they got some robots that can perform now and you know do a 6 hour show back flipping around, you know, who knows? You know, but we a long way from that. So like, you know what I'm saying? Though? Like so, I feel like we for now we okay. But I also feel though, going back to what I was saying, the human aspect of it,
Yeah.
the real emotions that are in the music, the real emotions that are in your performance or in your interviews, you know, something like this. You know, people want to be able to vibe with that. They want to be able to connect with that and take
Yeah.
something from that. I don't feel like AI can do that yet, so I feel like we safe at least for now. You know what I mean?
Right. Keep rocking until we can't rock no more.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, exactly. It's
I
true. I'm
love
like they gonna start having robots perform and flip it around, and we ain't gonna be able to do that. You know. Yeah.
I love it. Um, what do you want people to remember most about you, both as an artist and a person?
Mm. As an artist, I 100% the main thing I want people to do is remember that you can be versatile, you can be eclectic, you can have different tastes. You know, like you don't necessarily have to always listen to one thing. And that kind of goes into all the other things we were speaking about. Like people gonna have an opinion regardless. So if you, you know, say you a dude who grew up in the hood and you like to listen to rock music or you like to listen to, you know, pop music, like someone's gonna have something to say, and vice versa. If you grew up in the hood and you only listen to street music, they're gonna be like, man, he always listen to that bullshit. And it's like, bro, you know what I'm saying? It's like, damn, I can't like what I like. You know what I'm saying? Like, so for me, it's like that's the main thing as an artist. I want people to enjoy my music, number one. But number two, understand that I make versatile music. You can enjoy versatile music. And if you are aspiring artists out there, you can do it as well. You can create your own music that you want to create. You don't have to be boxed in. That's the main thing. You don't have to be boxed in. And then really as a person, it's kind of the same thing. Like I feel like AL99 is really just Al. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm the same person in my artistry that I am in my real life. I just want people to remember that you can be you can be vulnerable. You can be yourself. You don't always have to be perfect. That's
Yeah.
another thing too. You know, you can we're human beings. We all have ebbs and flows. We all have ups and downs. And if you in a bout of depression, live in that sometimes. You know, sometimes you got to remove yourself, you know, meditate, pray. And you know, if you winning, I'm also a humble person, but I'm just saying though, like if you win, you don't necessarily have to not revel in that success. You can enjoy your life, you can have fun, you can have good times and celebrate your successes. And I feel like people can really take that from me as a person as well. Just be yourself, you know, be open to being vulnerable, but grow, learn, listen, and express yourself.
I
You know,
love
so
it.
yeah.
I love that. That's great. That's wonderful. Where can people find you on social media to follow everything you have going on?
So yeah, cool. You can find me on Instagram number one at underscore Big Al for number nine. So it's underscore BIGAL9999. And then from there, you'll see my link trees in my bio, and you can get everything from there. You can see my website, my streaming platforms, you can get my YouTube, you know, so everything is in there. But first, definitely go to Instagram and you'll find me from everywhere from there.
Awesome. Well, it was a pleasure. It was such a pleasure. Really quick for just for to wrap this up, what advice would you give to, that kid or that little boy, that little girl that wants to, whether it's music, acting, whatever, pursue their dream? What something that you would tell them?
You know, the main thing I would tell them, you gotta believe in yourself. And I also feel like that there's so much in that that's like it's kind of hard to just say it like that, just in 6 words. It's like for me, it's like really that's what it all really comes down to. Because you have your own vision, you know what you want to do. Because like for instance, like I have I have a friend and you know the little girl she was talking about I love singing. I love singing. I want to do it. She's like 9, right? And
Oh,
the way I was looking at it, I was talking to bro and I'm like, bro, it don't matter that she 9. You know what I'm saying? Like she know what she want to do. And I also feel like that's another thing that kids they might not have the verbal skills to tell you what they mean, but they know what they're trying to say and they know what they're feeling. You know what I mean? Like it
right.
don't, I've always believed that. I've always believed that because I remember being that kid where it was
Yeah.
like, okay, just because I'm 7, 8 years old doesn't mean I don't know what I'm feeling or trying to say. You know, I might not know how to say it. You know what I mean? So for me, it's like any kid out there that really has a dream, really wants to pursue something, believe in it, believe in yourself, and sometimes you might not even get support from your parents or whoever, you know, whoever. And it's like you gotta love them, but at the same time pursue your own passions. Seriously, you have
That's
to,
right.
because then you're not going to live for yourself. You're living for them. And at the end of
Mm,
the day, we're still our own people at the end of the day. So you know what I mean? So that's for sure what I would tell a kid. Like you got to believe in yourself, and whatever you want to do, put work into it. Because that's
hmm.
another thing. Dreams, visions without work are just dreams. You just,
That's right.
you got to work for it. You got to grind. You got to work, and it's not going to just happen overnight. You really got to be dedicated to it. So that's for sure what I would tell a kid: stay on your grind and believe in yourself for real.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you. And come back anytime. I wish you all the best. And everyone go stream Superduper and check him out. Check out all the work that you've got. I mean, it's just amazing work you're doing. So thank you.
I appreciate you, Queen. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you all for listening. And always remember to live, love, laugh. We'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.